the messages filtering in on social media rapidly from the Delhi Chief Minister, the current Chief Minister, Arvind Kejriwal, tweeting to say that he's deeply saddened at this great loss for India. The actor and now politician Rajnikant has also tweeted to say, quote, "I'm saddened to hear the demise of a great statesman, Shri Vajpayee ji, may his soul rest in peace," end quote. A number of reactions coming in. Of course, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already taken to Twitter to say, "Atalji's passing away is a personal and irreplaceable loss for me. I have countless fond memories with him. He was an inspiration to Karyakartas like me. I will particularly remember his sharp intellect and outstanding wit," end quote. Before I go back to my colleagues, let me also read out a tweet from Ashok Gehlot, who has said, quote, "Deeply saddened by the passing away of former Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Bharat Ratna Atal ji will always be remembered as a great statesman, master orator and a leader with a large-hearted vision. My thoughts are with his family. May God give them strength to bear this loss. Rest in peace," end quote. Let me go across to Siddhant Sibal, who I was speaking with a short while ago. Siddhant, we were, of course, talking about the reactions that you've managed to get from a number of people on Atal Bihari Vajpayee, not just as India's Prime Minister, but really speaking a voice that represented India to the world.
Well, definitely, and we spoke to the current US Ambassador and the Foreign Secretary Lalit Mansingh, who served under the Prime Ministership of the former Prime Minister, the late former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and both of them spoke not only positively, but they said that the current foundation of Indo-US ties, we have seen a tremendous development happening, taking place, the nuclear deal, and then of course a lot of things. The 2+2 dialogue is going to take place just next month. They talked about how he coined the term natural partners, and the natural partner term was devised by him, and today is being used very easily by a lot of people, but he was the originator of this term, and the US Ambassador said that because of Mr. Vajpayee's talks with Clinton and the Bush administration, the relationship is not only in a positive trajectory but has been growing. And if we talk about his foreign policy, he has been reaching out to Pakistan, he reached out to China, and he was the foreign minister of India also, and he was the first foreign minister to go to the UN and speak in Hindi. And yes, now of course most of the foreign ministers do that only, they speak in Hindi, but primarily the focus is how he transformed the foreign policy from the Nehruvian legacy to a legacy which was more pragmatic and more positive for India.
Absolutely. A trendsetter, no doubt, Kartikeya. Even his ideology and his policy towards Kashmir. The fact that just yesterday the Indian Prime Minister referred to those three terms that became sort of central to the Kashmir policy under Prime Minister Vajpayee. Kashmiriyat, Insaniyat and Jamhuriyat just goes to show that his legacy and his words and his way with words continues to be so important even today.
You see, Vajpayee tell you how when processes try to define you, or when processes, events and episodes try to dominate you, it is the strength of your personality which can ultimately create a space for your own thought, or else you get completely run down by the force of the history. Now, the question you have asked, now put that in context, Aisha. Chittu Singhpura massacre took place. You had Kargil. We had Operation Parakram. Red Fort was attacked, Parliament was attacked, he was betrayed after Lahore, but he continued his initiative for a peace in Jammu and Kashmir. So what does it tell me? It tells me that in India, you can still rule this country with a big heart. This country can still be ruled without political muscle. This country can still be ruled with accommodation. And this country can actually bridge differences between communities and faith through consensus, talk, and with empathy. So Vajpayee's endeavor in Kashmir was to listen to an average Kashmiri. He did not, despite the party having a different position, he did not demonstrate the use of force as a political tool in conflict area. That is why people of Kashmir remember Atal Bihari Vajpayee so fondly. It's not as if various governments have not used army and military to neutralize the terrorists. Yes, Every government has done that, BJP in Congress. But why is Vajpayee remembered? Because he never allowed that to become a tool to be appropriated politically. That was something very important when we remember Vajpayee in context of Kashmir. Secondly, Vajpayee was able to delineate Kashmir from rest of the agenda and convince his counterpart there. Imagine he was trying to reconcile with a person who orchestrated Kargil, and he was invited to Agra. I had covered that. I was in journalism. The summit took place. He was in a different hotel. Other 500-700 journalists were made to put in a different hotel, 700 meters away. We all dependent on SMSs or a little bit of trickle of information which would come from bureaucrats. But even then, Vajpayee tried his best. Yes, Agra summit was a failure, but at least he gave a try. So Vajpayee's Kashmir initiative shows, Aisha, that you can still rule India with a big heart and a consensus. And
indeed, I mean, what I'm gathering also from what you just said is that he was open to taking a stand that perhaps was, counter to what the party's was. And I suppose that was also a defining feature of the fact that he was willing to attract the censure of the first world, Kartikeya, when he went ahead with India's Pokhran tests in the late 90s and was willing to, test perhaps the United States, the United Kingdom, even the United Nations. All of them slapped sanctions on India, but he was willing to take that risk to make sure that India gate crashed the nuclear big club.
Actually, yes, correct. But this alignment is also very, very, I would say, important to understand that this happened when PV Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. And Aisha, you would remember that there was a distinct change in Congress foreign policy where after Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, PV Narasimha Rao shifted the foreign policy of the country closer to America, closer to Israel. Now, fundamentally, that foreign policy approach was something which Janasangh espoused, which then by that time had metamorphosed into Bharatiya Janata Party. Janasangh was made in 1980. It was 13 years old. In 1993, Vajpayee was going there. Salman Khurshid was part of the delegation. So, it was an attempt, and also there was an ideological closeness with PV Narasimha Rao. So, that is why this trip was a success.